Talk radio. Very entertaining. Yeah! TNT.
It's Terry Tuesday. Our man in Manitoba, Canada, Terry Wolf. He's the author of a number of books. Maybe Everyone is Wrong, Fire in the Rabbit Hole, viral TikToker who was deplatformed, although he's back on TikTok. How's it going, Terry?
Thanks for having me back. It's great. It's great to be back. And, Christmas is around the corner. We're all looking at 2024. And last year, I remember we were talking about AI being the story to look for in 2023. I wonder what 2024 is the big story, we're going to have to keep an eye on, because at this point, there's so many things in the air happening at once. It looks like they're looking at the full convergence of all of the narratives. AI is still a huge one, though. I saw a story just today. I think it's completely breaking news. Colorado Supreme Court says that Trump is banned from the state's ballot under the insurrection clause. So they said, this is from the Associated Press, saying that they're using Section 3 of the 14th Amendment to disqualify him as a presidential candidate. So, I mean, this is one state, but it's their Supreme Court. So this is about as big of a turn you can get. This is the level of American politics now already. So what's going to happen, as we get into 2024? How are people going to react to this?
This was literally posted a half hour ago to the Associated Propaganda News, AP News, Associated Press News. And yeah, this is interesting. If other states could maybe follow suit. And so we are in uncharted territory, Terry. I think 2024 is going to be wild. There's talk of, Stephen Greer and people of his ilk talk about the alien contact, wars popping off, cyber attacks, Skynet becoming self-aware. It's, get your bingo cards ready. I think, and speaking of AI, I do want to try and dip my waters in the dip my toes in the AI waters next year and start creating these AI images that I see a lot of people using. And it has some helpful applications like AI transcription and so forth. But you and I and others are aware of some of the nefarious ways AI can be used. But maybe we could start with this. You brought up this recent cyber attack, this report that's Israel knocked out 60 to 70% of gas stations across Iran. And I think I'm seeing a lot of other people put together similar analyses. And, they've talked about this cyber polygon, WEF, that by 2025, there's going to be some cyber event. And so I think the new Netflix film is priming us for this. Your thoughts?
Yeah, when I saw this, I connected it with the attacks in the Suez Canal and the Red Sea, which is also disrupting oil supplies, which of course is the biggest, driver of economic factors. It's sort of the base level of so many different things, and it's tied in with the green agenda, the climate change agenda. When we're relying on oil, obviously these pipelines and critical infrastructure and canals and gas stations, all of these things come into play. And if you could have cyber attacks disrupt these things, you drive up the prices, you scare people, you turn them, maybe it's a motive to, in this case, it's clearly just an attack on Iran, but with these gas stations being hacked. But, if they can do it to Iran, why couldn't they do it to someone else? I mean, it's the internet, it's cyber attacks. I don't think there's anything that would prevent these Israeli hackers from going after a different country that they see as a threat. And what is the retaliation for that? Hillary Clinton, I remember famously saying she would treat any cyber attack from Russia as a physical attack and would have retaliated with physical force. That's something she said during her 2016 election campaign. And everyone was like, does that mean that if, supposedly Russia, could be the NSA or whatever, attacks some American thing with a supposed hack, then you're going to launch missiles into Russia and start World War III. Like, so I'd be very curious to see how this is going to, if there's any retaliation from Iran on this, if they're just going to take it on the chin like the BRICS countries seems to do all the time when they get provoked by Ukraine, Russia, or the anti-Russia coalition for years attacking Russia, blowing up stuff, blowing up their pipeline, Nord Stream and stuff. And like, they just seem to take it. And I wonder how long that lasts in the current climate where people are starting to question Israel because of Gaza. And ultimately, this to me points to the Ben Gurion Canal plan that we talked about, that Richard Medhurst was doing research on. Very interesting look at the plans from America and Israel to create a new canal to bypass the Suez Canal, which would go right through Gaza, basically. And, is it possible that they want to disrupt the shipping lanes and whatever they can cyber-wise through the internet to get it to the point where they need to justify having a new canal because it's too disruptive there?
Yeah, and just to add what you mentioned, people can check my feed on X and Geopolitics and Empire Telegram. That's where I'm curating for myself what I'm digesting daily or almost daily. And I've posted there. Sky News military analyst says if the West wants to get shipping moving again, there's little choice. The U.S. has to attack Iran. That sort of rhetoric. The Economist discussing a new Suez crisis threatening the world economy. Since December 15th, four of the world's 5 largest container shipping companies have paused or suspended their services in the Red Sea, the route through which traffic from the Suez Canal must pass, as Iran-backed Houthi militants escalate their attacks on global shipping flows. I think that's an estimated 12% of global trade, perhaps 30% of global container traffic. China Global Times says Chinese experts believe that the Red Sea situation will have a much greater impact on the global shipping industry than the Suez Canal obstruction in March 2021, when the Ever Given, a container ship that had run aground in the canal, blocked the channel. And again, we're just seeing more and more reports that they're already increasing prices for consumers, and it's just perfectly the whole the consequence perfectly lines up with the neo-feudal Great Reset project, where inflation. This is going to just further destroy the middle class, especially in the Western world. It's time for our headlines. Terry, we'll be right back.
News doesn't stop breaking, and we don't take a break from covering it.
TNT Radio News.
For TNT Radio News, this is James O'Neill. On Monday evening, a magnificent red glow illuminated the sky in southwest Iceland due to a volcanic eruption near the town of Grindavik. Rolls-Royce, a prominent British engineering firm, is considering a plan to help Ukraine decentralize its energy network by introducing a series of small modular reactors. Court rulings in 3 Canadian provinces have determined that anti-Israel protests blocking railway lines have caused significant financial damage and legal issues for the Canadian National Railway.
Don't miss a thing. Be sure to download the TNT Radio app from either the Apple App Store or Google Play so you can easily listen live to us anywhere, anytime. Available right now to download, keeping you up to speed on TNT Radio.
We're talking to Terry Wolf, wolfpox.com, WOLFPOX.com, winterchristian.substack.com. Find all of his stuff there, books, live streams, channels, and so forth. And so any other thoughts on the cyber polygon or other stuff that's going on?
Well, I will say, I think that this is the story for 2024. It's going to be hacking. It's going to be cyber attacks, cyber pandemic, whatever they want to call it. And I think that AI is going to have to play a big part in that, because we've heard so many analysts already, all of the major, Business Insider, all these different places, Bloomberg, making predictions, and where do they get these predictions from? I'm not exactly sure, except for military intelligence insiders who are complicit somehow. That 2024 is going to be riddled with giant cyber attacks. and you combine that with AI throwing in disinformation and hoaxes and psyops, and apparently making it much easier to create hacks, create the scripts and the code necessary to do the hacking. And you have just a perfect storm for trying to throw into disarray the whole idea of elections to begin with. And I would just connect it to this Sky News article, although other places have been reporting this too, that 2024 is the world's biggest election year ever. And it specifically says AI experts say we're not prepared. The UK, US, India are just three of the countries set to hold elections in 2024. There's over 40 countries, I believe, that are all doing elections next year. And you've got Midjourney, you've got ChatGPT, you've got these other things running around. We already saw them talking about hacking the election back in 2016 when there was none of this. And so now, and then 2020 is, the insurrection, which is why Donald Trump is being discredited because he says that the election was stolen. Like, you connect these narratives together, it's just getting more and more intense. The hall of mirrors that is modern politics, where they don't want us to be able to trust anything. And then through all of that, they can do their fact checking and they can have the official narrative, I guess, and sort of control it from the top down that way.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna not just use what's happening in the U.S. but other elections. And again, one of the things I think they eventually want to push through is technocracy or algocracy, rule by algorithm software. So we're going to need less and less politicians. Maybe that's part of the state of play where a lot of these people will be outed. Douglas, I was listening to Colonel Douglas McGregor this morning in Redacted. I've hung out with him and interviewed him. And he was talking about, just look at Europe. You're going to see just people revolting, governments collapsing. And, that does play into this, their plan of technocracy where, all these Trudeaus, all these scandals we saw in the Senate. I mean, just, I wanted to vomit. I'm not sure if you saw that clip, Terry. One of the homosexual staffers of one of the senators was having intercourse in the Senate. And there was a clip of that came out, and it's just like, I mean, it's just the insanity. And so maybe we will see politicians fall, and then they'll bring in, hey, we've got this software AI sort of stuff. I don't know, but I thought this was amusing. You also brought this up, grifter in chief Donald Trump, Hoax, Mugshot, NFTs, and I actually saw a clip of him announcing it, and I'm just face palming. I'm like, seriously, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to ignore this kind of stuff because of the amount of insanity we have today. You can just sort of let this stuff slip by. But to me, this is a dead giveaway that Donald Trump doesn't actually know anything about how to appeal to his own base. And I think that was even true in 2016. And I think a lot of people underestimate or just completely ignore how much Steve Bannon was Donald Trump's voice in 2016. And that was really why he had this grassroots support, and he seemed to be saying the right things at the right times and tapping into the conservative base that was so tired of the establishment. I think without a Steve Bannon on his side during his campaigns, this is the kind of crap that he comes up with. He's doing NFTs, and if you buy them at a certain price, he literally cuts up snippets of his suit that he was wearing and is selling pieces of fabric that are connected to these cards, and you can touch the fabric of Donald Trump's suit when he was getting his mugshot taken. Like, it's so embarrassing. It's so out of touch. It's such it's not exactly self-pity because he still presents himself as being strong and untouchable, but, he's playing into that martyr role so badly. And I don't see any way that he actually, and I've listened to his speeches, he's not really in touch with what people are saying or what people want. But he got rid of Bannon, and he's now just, I think, free floating and just coasting off the fact that he's being persecuted by the establishment, which is not really a good look. We want to hear about solutions. We want to hear about what you're going to do. And he does interviews just saying, nuclear bombs are a big threat, and and just basically bashing Biden, which is the easiest low-hanging fruit. So I don't know. This NFT stuff to me is a dead giveaway that he's still not good at campaigning. He still doesn't know what he's doing. Once he got rid of Steve Bannon, he was just relying on Twitter and doing essentially live reaction feedback from people on Twitter until he got banned from there. So not a good look for Donald Trump. I think anybody who would buy these things, hopefully they're doing it ironically as some sort of cringe collection or something, because I don't see anyone buying this legitimately.
I think we'll know as we get closer to the elections, and I guess we'll see. I've got different scenarios. We might have some deep state event. There can be actual physical assassinations, digital assassinations, civil war scenario. Maybe we go to actual war. If Trump somehow does come back, you and I know, I've had Donnie Darkins on his scenario that the pendulum swings and there's this great awakening, false light, and Trump comes back into power, but actually he's leading the real new world order, and a lot of people will be deceived. That's one scenario. Maybe that won't happen. Maybe Trump won't come back to power, and I don't really see them running Biden. I did see a clip today about rumors now of the Dems trying to get Biden not to run. Again, there are just so many scenarios. Nobody knows. I tend to stick more with the people who say, I don't know. And there are people out there that say, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. Nobody knows. But there's a lot of, Terry, there's a lot of death zero news. It's absolutely crazy. You had a story about 4 years in prison for Nikola core founder for defrauding investors on claims of zero emission trucks. Meanwhile, I was just reporting how in Ottawa, this is insane, Terry, from 2035, you will no longer be able to buy a gas powered car in Canada at all. It literally says from 2035, you can only buy a battery electric plug-in or a hydrogen model vehicle. So you can't buy a new gas powered car in Canada from 2035. You'll have to, if you've got a used gas-powered car, you'll have to hold on to it until it dies. So you've got that. And then in Denmark, reports that they're now adding taxes for flying. So they want to, again, price you out of flying, take away your car. Absolute insanity. What do you make of all of this?
Well, it has to go hand in hand. I mean, the fraud of this guy, this Nikola Corp founder, being sent to 4 years of prison for his just blatant fraud that he was committing, gluing on doors onto a truck that has no engine and rolling it downhill to make it look like it's powered and working. Like, the level of fraud on this Nikola company is hilarious. Although I think he's doing a lot of the same things Tesla and Elon Musk is doing, and Elon Musk just gets away with it, probably because he's connected to DARPA, and they're keeping him afloat for his usefulness as a face to put on this new family-friendly technocracy that they want to do. But this guy, he's going to go to prison, and he has to pay $1 million fine. And I just barely saw a story about Tesla not being able to deliver their Cybertruck. And having to, I think they're going to roll out 10 of them, and then they're going to personally deliver them to the customers. And then they'll find out how much it costs once it gets there, and they'll have to pay the price. Like, it's such a bizarre failure. It is essentially fraud, in my opinion. I'm not a legal expert, but then you have the climate obviously fueling that, because they are outlawing regular cars. So what's the alternative? We have to invest there. We have to shift our investments. And then fraudsters can take advantage of it. Meanwhile, they're suppressing the real technology of water-powered cars that have hydrolysis at the source. So you just fuel up on water. It converts it into hydrogen at the point of where it needs it. You don't have to have stored hydrogen, which is the whole expensive part about hydrogen. I think they have all the technology, and I would support getting rid of fossil fuels if they just unleashed the real technology. And I write about that in my book, Fire in the Rabbit Hole, too, that I think they're suppressing all of this amazing technology so that, when the time is right, they're going to say that aliens gave it to us, or it's going to be one of Trump's revolutionary, innovations, or whoever they want to support. They can throw it behind that, and they can save the day with this technology. There's a lot of interesting things around why they need to be getting rid of gasoline and creating that crunch. Obviously, I think the most obvious thing is to control, our freedom to have electronic devices and smart devices everywhere. But I think there are deeper levels yet of trying to hold back the dam of innovation so that at the right time they can unleash it. And meanwhile, you have stuff like this because investors don't know where to put their money. If they're going to ban cars, it's insane. I told people about it years ago. They're going to try to get rid of gas-powered cars. I told people at my workplace. They didn't believe me. They were laughing about it. It looks like they're pushing it through right now.
And any thoughts on this? You saw this story where breathing now contributes to global boiling. Meanwhile, I'm reading in China, record cold in China. In Germany, it's in some places it's so colder than it hasn't been this cold in 20 plus years. But it's like we've come full circle. We were joking about this, the conspiracy theory that the whole global warming thing is they're going to tax breathing, and here we are. They're saying breathing is contributing to global warming, and at the same time they need a carbon tax. They got to tax us because of global warming. Well, they're literally taxing air. You got to pay to breathe now. Your thought on this?
I wouldn't be surprised if this leads to not a tax per person just for breathing or anything, but just reproductive rights and reproduction. If you have a kid, maybe they'll have some sort of huge fines. Pets and anything that, and then farmlands and farms. Obviously, methane from cows was a thing back in the 90s already with the ozone and these different things they've been hyping up. They just want to control life itself, right? And so life is carbon based. We are the carbon they want to get rid of. And in how they're going to do it policy wise, I really think they can only take as many steps as the culture and essentially the world religion allows. This new age thinking of earth worship and this extremist mentality where humans are evil and guilty, and the planet is sacred and precious and has more rights than we do. We've seen rivers and forests getting rights that supersede human rights in the past. Crazy signs of the times. So yeah, blaming global warming on people breathing is exactly what we would expect, and we can expect more of it. And 2024 is going to be a crazy year for these stunts that they play in these fake science studies, which I don't even believe the study that they're quoting here. 0.1% of emissions is people breathe. That can't be the case with all the other things that create carbon and pollution. So fake science goes along with fake religions and fake ideologies to prop up this death machine that they're going with.
Yeah, I don't believe anything they say. Death zero is what I like to call it. Net zero. It's time for our break. Wolfpox.com, winterchristian.substack.com, Terry's websites. We'll be right back.
Give Hrvoje Moric on today's News Talk Radio, TNT.
It's our final segment with Canadian author Terry Wolf, coming to us from Manitoba. Wolfbox.com, and get your further thoughts on AI. I found this on Telegram, Open Minds, great channel. We share each other's stuff. And he posted this image from Colonel retired Jeff Fish. And it's interesting. So this Colonel is fooled by AI. He posts an image of these wacky U.S. Fighter planes with the wings that are bent, and he says, "I giggle when folks post how great the Russian defense industry is. This image is a current photo from a U.S. aircraft carrier. Get you some." They're obviously like fake planes that don't exist, where the wings are bent and the community notes on X says, photo shown here is a computer-generated rendering by Lockheed Martin. But what's interesting, Open Minds comments on Telegram. He says, do you trust X with its AI picture debunking notes? I wouldn't trust the AI to tell me anything. This is exactly how people fall into believing the new AI god, because they want to debunk stuff. Let's not forget that SpaceX is the biggest contractor for the DoD. When AI becomes prevalent on the internet, including pictures, videos, text, sounds, and voices, websites, and most, if not all, is generated by AI, what will be the value in having the internet? Will you quit the internet? And he's got a good point, because what happens when so many things are generated by AI, and who knows what's real or not anymore? Your further thoughts on AI and Bill Gates, the story you had.
Yeah, this is strange to me because I would, maybe it's a fallacy, but I would just assume that military experts would look critically at what they're actually, like, you should know the model and the name of the thing you're looking at. Like, I don't know what this is. It doesn't even look like a plane to me. It looks like a drone. There's no cockpit. It's kind of like a stealth bomber, but there's no like, I don't really know what this thing even is supposed to be. But like, do they really just share memes like this and not even think about what they're looking at? Like, and then so it sort of betrays the incompetence of, even people who should be familiar with the subject. In the same way, I feel like the doctors during the pandemic just went along with whatever narrative and saw a study or somebody says something and suddenly they're diagnosing people and they're giving out these prescriptions and vaccines and everything. And then years later now they're coming out and saying, well, actually, yeah, I didn't really think about anything I was doing. I was just going along with the narrative. I'm always a little bit shocked because, if somebody walked into my field of expertise and started to say things that were crazy or show me pictures of things that don't make sense, I think I would step back and take a critical look at it first. But here you have colonels, talking about aircraft that aren't even real. And going along with it. And yeah, I found this story from, I guess it's reported on the Hindustan Times, but it's being reported all over the place. Bill Gates talking about 2024 and his predictions with AI, how it's going to mold the future. It's going to basically redefine everything. And 2024 is the year of AI. And he says, one quote that they highlighted was that it is going to be a force of God in the future, having the potential to do away with socioeconomic discrepancies and inequalities rather than expanding on the differences of society. So apparently Bill Gates thinks that, AI is going to have this divine benevolence, that it's going to help make society more fair and equal rather than giving billionaires like him all the more power to control things. Just that rhetoric. Again, I always look for that rhetoric. Why are they using those words? It's obviously they're heavily invested in it. Any hype around AI is going to help Microsoft, because they're trying to win in that category. But force of God, I don't think so. What do you think?
And it's funny, I had this happen the other day with another guest, and that was the exact same quote I highlighted that you did. So again, we're on the same frequency here. It's absolutely crazy, yeah. And it's this transhuman, posthuman thing. And I have this story as well. Eric Schmidt, formerly of Google, the Google CEO, and in the past he said, we want you to just type in what you're looking for and you get one result. Comparing the different search results for you to sift through what you think would be true. We're going to tell you what is true, and that's where they're headed. And look what
2024.
Mm-hmm.
I just think 2024 has to be an all-out psyop assault from beginning to end. It's going to have, and the more the West is pressured, the more the West feels like it's collapsing. It's got these internal crises. It's basically, again, going to come to a feeling of civil war around the 2024 election. Obviously, that's going to have to be a plan. AI is going to be this middle force in there that both sides can use. Every side can use. Outside actors can use it to influence the election as well. Israel is already doing, these hacking things, and this Israeli, I guess it's not the government, it's a hacker group that was doing it, but it's a pro-Israel group that was hacking Iran's gas stations. And then everyone's saying Iran is going to do a huge cyber attack on the West. And so whoever is doing it, it's all this invisible shenanigans. You don't know where it comes from. And meanwhile, people are going to be trying to get their news. And yeah, they're censoring the results even of what people can find. So the difference here, it's going to be a kind of like, AI are these weapons that these different factions are deploying against each other. And I think that's why it's been getting so much hype over the last couple of years. I think the average person is sort of over it. They don't really care about AI that much anymore. The hype has died down for the average person. But at the same time, you pointed out a great example there of even a military person being fooled by some picture and then trying to make a point off of it. That will lead to people like you and me. Every time we post something, they can have somebody come in and say, that's disinformation, now you're banned. Or, who knows how they're going to try to regulate speech just based on the fact that you can't trust what anyone's saying. And yeah, welcome to the Hall of Mirrors. Welcome to 2024, where nothing is true.
Yeah, and there's this story where Eric Schmidt is urging social media to verify users, block VPNs, and watermark AI deepfakes to combat misinformation. And, blocking VPNs, that's what countries like Russia, China, Kazakhstan, my former home, did to me. I had to go through 3 VPNs just to access my private email service, which was also blocked by the Kazakh ISPs. And so, you have Schmidt now suggesting we do that here. Some of his ideas, as it reports, include blocking VPNs, authenticating people behind every social media account. So he would like U.S. legislators, regulators, and tech companies to heed his recommendations before it's too late. So, they are herding us into this algorithm ghetto. And I just realized, Terry, this is our last broadcast of 2023. Next Tuesday, I'll be off because we'll be off TNT for Christmas. I can say on TNT Radio, I can say Christmas, and so we won't be talking until January, hopefully. So 2 minutes to midnight. Any final thoughts for us? I did mention to you, I thought it was interesting. InfoWars Telegram channel recently shared for Christmas. They shared this old David Icke video that was anti-Christian, where David Icke is talking about Christmas and how Jesus is fake and Jesus is the sun god. I went down that rabbit hole 20 years myself before I even learned about Icke, and I determined it to be false. This idea where they try to connect Jesus with the Egyptian sun god, that New Age alt media theory does not pan out, if you ask me. Zeitgeist has promoted it, which is why I do not promote Zeitgeist. But a little over a minute and a half left. Any final thoughts for us?
Back when I was in high school, I wrote an article basically saying the same thing, that Christmas was pagan and that it wasn't. And I was just sort of believing the things that I was doing research on way back then in 2005 or 4 or whatever it was. And yeah, since then I've learned that it's not that simple. That you can't just dismiss it that way. But David Icke and InfoWars promoting this, them bringing back an old video at this time just to bash Christians and say that it's not true. It's a very strange move on their part. I don't know why they would do that. And I would just say, as far as the AI thing that we're talking about, that goes towards the digital ID thing totally, that we are always warning people about, that that's how they can try to verify everything. You have your government digital ID, biometrics, whatever it is, and that's going to maybe be the move for 2024. Tie it in with the election and voting and everything. You have to register with your digital ID. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they try to pull.
Fun times ahead. All right, tell us where we can best find you on the internet, Terry.
Go to winterchristian.substack.com. I'm doing a lot of stuff there, and I'll link other stuff that I'm working on my Substack, so you don't miss anything.
We'll have a wonderful Christmas. A Happy New Year. I look forward to talking to you in early January, Terry.
Thanks. You too.
Be right back.